We're going to go ahead and get started with a question from Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic. He'll be followed by Cody Cunningham.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, this has been a long week to get back to this point of actually playing a game. What's that been like? Sitting, waiting, obviously testing, seeing what's going on with Washington. What's it been like waiting through that and then now finally getting the chance to play?
I mean, there's a number of things that we probably all felt. We were just waiting on the league to give us the okay to get back together. It was certainly something that was out of our control. We were trying to do the best we could to inform the staff and players when we got information. And then you just got to a point where you just took advantage of the time away. We were able to look at a lot of our data on how we played in the first 11 games and, tweak a few things, have some discussions about our team. Had a lot of conversations with the players this week, just trying to keep them informed and engaged. Our training staff did an unreal job of doing what they could to keep our guys locked in, conditioning and quick twitch stuff. So there was a lot that happened this week, so much out of our control. We understood what the league was trying to do as far as keeping everybody safe. It's just a different world we live in.
And just to follow it up, when Washington, they revealed Friday that they had 9 players in protocol and then 6 that tested positive. We see who you guys have in protocol. It's just Dario, Damian, and Jalen. Do you guys have any positive tests? Because they had 6. I'm just asking because you just played them, and then they have 6 tests. So I'm just trying to get it on you guys in as well.
Yeah, what the statement says is what I'm just leaving it at. I don't want to speak on those medical situations. Whatever's on the statement it is what it is. I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, next up we have Cody Cunningham with Suns.com. He'll be followed by Kellen Olson.
Hey, Coach. It seems some of this early success can be credited to the depth of this team with guys like, both Cams, Javon, Dario, Langston. Just how critical is that second unit for the success of this team?
To be straight, it's been one of the better units for us. When we put that second unit out there, they play with an abandon. They move the ball. They're aggressive on defense. They do a really good job of playing together. And as you alluded to, the depth is something that is huge for us. And I can't reiterate enough how the experience in Orlando, I feel like, is helping us now. Getting Campaign and Javon on the floor together along with Dario created a level of confidence for those guys. And so now, you're starting to see that group grow. And so it has increased our depth to a degree, and it allows for us, hopefully to some time as we try to, get the starters playing with a bit more synergy. And I got to do a better job of putting those guys in better positions to score the ball and work on spacing and all the stuff that we talk about. But our second team has been a good group for us.
And to follow that up, as a player, you went back and forth between starting and coming off the bench throughout your career, similar to a lot of these guys. Just what have your conversations been like with them in embracing that type of role?
I guess, I'm always, I don't know what it's like to be an all-star or have a State Farm commercial. Like I couldn't, I don't know what that's like. But I do have an idea of what it's like to be, in Javon's shoes and Jay's shoes and Cam Johnson's shoes, guys who, gone back and forth in that particular role. And a lot of times I'm able to point out something that I've experienced, and it may be something that they haven't talked about, but we're feeling. And if I say it, it kind of gives them a bit of a pressure release, because I know what it's like to, go to the arena thinking you were going to, be coming off the bench, and then you show up right before the game and you're starting and you got to guard Michael Jordan. I know what that's like. And so I try to talk to the guys about things I've dealt with that they may be going through. And I think sometimes when you let people know that you understand where they are, I think it releases pressure. And, my role as a coach is to try to put the guys in the best position I can. So sometimes when you can empathize with them on their situation, I think it helps them progress a bit.
All right, next up, we have Kellen Olson with Arizona Sports. He'll be followed by Cameron Cox.
Hey, Coach, we know Pro Day was canceled on Tuesday, but can you take us through the sequence of events from finding out the Hawks game was canceled? Was that morning before shoot around, and just what the next couple of days were like when you guys were able to return to practice, kind of the timeline for you guys, if you could? Thank you.
I can't remember all that stuff, phone call, day by day. I just know there were a couple days where we had to stay away just to be safe. For the most part this week, we've just been in that one coach, one player mode, just because the league felt it necessary to get more information, because we were around a team that had a number of cases. And so we haven't had a ton of time to get on the floor as a team, but we were able to stay in somewhat good conditioning because of our training staff. And Corey Schlesinger has done an unreal job of keeping our guys engaged. And we just had to do it differently. And I said this at the beginning of this whole thing, we're going to have to navigate uncertainty. And we did that pretty well this week. I told the guys yesterday they did a heck of a job not complaining, getting into the gym on their time slots and getting their work in and going home. And, it was something that I thought they should be commended for, because our guys did a great job of handling this past week.
All right, next up is Cameron Cox with 12 News. He'll be followed by Gina Mizell.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. What was the toughest part about this week? And then what were some of those things that you did to keep the guys engaged?
I think you're always – tough part, this week wasn't tough. The only thing I was concerned with was, just keeping our guys safe. And as a parent, I'm always thinking about guys with family members, so that was the thing that was going through my mind and James's mind and Robert's mind, was how do we keep our guys safe and keep their families safe? Our guys have done a really good job on the road. They stay in the hotel, they play cards, video games, they get together. They haven't been going out or doing any of that stuff that they, normally could do. And so I felt bad, because we got put in a situation that can happen to anybody, and we just dealt with it. And so there was nothing from my standpoint that I was nervous about, except, just worried about the health of our guys and then the health of their families and my own family. That's the one thing that concerns me with this virus is, one, I don't want to get it, and two, I don't want my family members to get it. But it can happen to anybody. Nobody's out of the water when it comes to this thing. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, next up is Gina Mizell with Suns.com. She'll be followed by Dwayne Rankin.
Hey, Monty, kind of a different topic, but I just wanted to see if you could maybe touch on how meaningful it is to be playing in Memphis on Martin Luther King Day. I know how much the Civil Rights Museum means to you, and just being able to play a game on that day in that city, just what that means to you.
Pretty cool. I'm sure I'll feel it more tomorrow, but just when we landed today, we were talking about the two things that we love to do when we come here, other than, eat more than you humanly should, is to go to the museum and go to St. Jude. And because of where we are, we won't get that chance to visit the museum, but what a blessing and honor it is to be able to play in this city on that particular day. I just hope that, it it doesn't just become something we do. I hope it continues to become a moment in time, a moment or season in the year where we really think about what Dr. King sacrificed so that a guy like me could be in this position, because that's what I think about. Many people like Dr. King spoke and sacrificed a ton so that someone like me would have an opportunity to be in this position, an African-American in a position of leadership, making more money than I deserve. People like him and my grandfather and many others, Loki Mulholland, so many people laid it on the line so that we all could have a chance to play on an equal playing field. And so when I come here and go to the museum and I learn more and more and more about what it was like to go through all that, but to have this opportunity to play in this particular game means a ton to me. And I know it means a ton to our guys.
All right, next up we have Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic, followed by Sierra Santos.
Yeah, Coach, just to follow that up, you was born in 71 and Dr. King passed in 1968. So when were the first stories you heard about him, and how did your knowledge of him grow from that point? I don't know if maybe family, that's how I learned, told me. But how did that evolve from when you first learned about the man and how it's evolved?
When I was a kid, you get the historical facts when you go to school, but I think my memories are my family's reaction to Dr. King. Growing up in Colonial Virginia, if you know anything about that part of the country, there was a number of tensions there. And so because of that, you heard your family members talk about Dr. King and many others who were, not just speaking out, sacrificing a ton so that our country could be a better place. So, we learned a ton about him in school, but it was limited. The older you get, the more you realize you didn't learn as much as you could have learned. Our education system back then, how it was back then. Columbus discovered America and all these weird things that didn't happen. So there were so many things about Dr. King that I didn't know that I learned from my family, because my granddad, who raised me, was someone who grew up in that time and looked up to Dr. King, and you listened to the stories that they went through in Colonial Virginia, but you also, as a kid, you saw their reaction to Dr. King, and it was always of utmost awe and respect. And that had a huge impact on me as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, because my granddad was my hero and Dr. King was his hero. So I would watch his reaction to people like Dr. King, and it had an impact on me.
All right, Coach, final two. We have Sierra Santos with Fox 10. She'll be followed by Leonardo Torres.
Hi, Coach. Given that this week wasn't so difficult, how much does that kind of put your mind at ease to know that if you guys do have to go something like through this again, that it's not, I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but you guys can only really control what you can control.
Right. Yeah, and to be straight, like, it is a big deal because so many people have been affected by it. I think the way our guys have handled it gives me a lot of confidence. That's the thing that I'm really I don't take for granted. I talk to our guys all week long. Had all kinds of conversations with players, and not one time did I hear anybody complain. They wanted to get back and play, but they didn't complain. And so that gave me a level of confidence that if we had to go through this again, our guys they'll know how to handle it. But make no mistake, like, this is a huge, huge issue in our country. And I know that everybody's trying their best to handle it the best way they can. And we as an organization have taken every precaution possible to keep everybody safe. And that gives me a lot of confidence when I see the measures that we've taken. All of our family members and friends have opportunities to get tested. And that's huge when you think about the cost. Robert's done an unreal job of making sure that everybody that's connected to our team can get tested. So that gives you confidence. And then you look at our players, the way they continue to handle what is an adverse situation. I mean, this is a tough deal for our country. But our guys understand that we're blessed and we get to play basketball. We get paid a lot of money to do what we do. And I think they understand that many other people in the world are going through tougher times than we are. And so I think, I can't say it enough. They've handled it really well.
All right, Coach. Final question comes from Leonardo Torres with El Comerica.
Hi, Coach. It's Leonardo Torres from Peru. Coach, what is the strategy you are using to keep motivated and focused a team that lives with the uncertainty of the coronavirus?
Leonardo, I think for me, I've talked to the guys about the privilege of playing basketball in the NBA. And so while so many people in our country and around the world have struggled and many have died, it's easy for me to, talk to our guys about what we get to do. None of us are working a job that we don't want to work, and all of us know we're paid way more than we deserve. And so with that in mind, if you compare the two, what we get to do and what many people are dealing with as it relates to this virus, I hope it sets the tone that we are really blessed in that regard. And not just the money we make, but the experiences that we all get to share is uncommon, versus what many people in the world are dealing with. And so I hope and pray that, we can get through this, and I hope this vaccine can choke this thing out so we can get back to, somewhat of a normal life. But more than that, I hope that we learn a lot and keep what we've learned through this thing. And we talk about that as a staff a ton, like what can we learn from this situation? And we try to share those things with our players. But we're blessed to do what we do. In the midst of all this, we still get to play basketball. We still have jobs, and our industry provides jobs for a lot of people. And that's a good thing.